And we are live. Welcome to Olivia's Stories, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi guys, I'm currently trying to find the right words to quantify what this post is about. I don't know if I'm here to talk about how I cheated on my boyfriend and how I'm scared of him finding out, or how I'm afraid of getting dumped by my affair partner. I sound dumb and stupid right now, but please bear with me. I'm currently trying to evaluate the amount of tension and unnecessary anxiety I have brought upon myself just by a single mistake I made at a night out. Damn. When my parents used to tell me how parties and late nights out are just another ticket to misbehaving and losing your morals, I thought they were just trying to stop me from having fun and being free. Now, I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place just because of a night out that led me to do something stupid. I cheated on my boyfriend with a handsome salesman at the retail store, and now I'm at the verge of being dumped by my boyfriend and the guy I cheated with. How ironic, right? My name is Eloise. I'm a 26-year-old baker, and I live in a town called Bingley, which is located in Bradford, England. The name of my boyfriend is Gregory, and we've been together for 2.5 years. We have known each other for 3 years now. Wow, I can't believe this is what it feels like to be the cheater behind the keyboard. Writing this has made me understand just how horrible being vulnerable is. Gregory and I live separately, but we hang out often. Just 2 months ago, he invited me out to a party, and we decided to stay till it was quite late. Gregory had to rush home because he had work the next day. I decided to go to the retail store and get myself something before going home. I can't deny the fact that I was already drunk even before I left the party. But maybe I was just tipsy, if I can still remember everything that occurred. When I got to the retail store, the salesman made me swoon. When I say he made me swoon, I mean it literally. It was a weird sensation for me because I've never been the type of person to be attracted to just anyone, especially when I'm just meeting the person for the first time. I don't know what happened to me that day because I was certainly not acting myself. The salesman introduced himself as Dave, and then he asked for my name. Our conversation just began from there, and then he told me his shift was over and decided to escort me home. I woke up in his house the next day, and I swear that I almost fainted when the realization of what I'd done hit me like a bucket of cold water. I cheated on my boyfriend with a salesman I'd just met. Dave is a very good-looking guy. I can't deny that fact. Maybe that's why I was swooned by him and decided to follow him home. I don't even have an explanation for what happened. I was meant to be escorted home, not turn out being the escort. Before I left his place that day, Dave made sure he asked for my phone number and saved his number on my phone. Gregory doesn't know what happened yet. I've managed to keep it a secret from him for the past 2 months. I know I'm shameless and selfish for doing that, but I really do not have an explanation. My survival instinct just and desire to keep my boyfriend just kicked in, and I desired to keep my mouth shut and keep everything from Gregory. At first, I wanted to pretend like it was just a one-time thing with Dave and that it happened as a result of my drinking. But it developed to become a friend's benefit thing. I can't even believe that I'm insinuating that I had a fling with someone while I was in a relationship with my boyfriend. Dave and I were constantly in contact. I think I'm infatuated by him and his good looks. He's good-looking, charming, and flirty. He's the definition of a bad idea, yet I found myself in a fling with him. I risked my relationship with my boyfriend by being with Dave, and I risked my fling with Dave by being with my boyfriend. Now I think Dave is about to dump me, and my boyfriend is on the verge of finding out the truth. I'm in a big mess, and the only person I can really blame is myself. To think I've been feeling like I could literally have my cake and eat it back is crazy. I thought I was being smooth and discreet. I was having fun by having a little bit of both worlds. But guess what? I'm about to lose both worlds and end up with nothing. I got a text from Dave yesterday saying that we needed to talk. That was the only contact of the text. Before, Dave would check up on me regularly and text me with sweet words. Yesterday, his words were very plain and weird. I could tell that there was something wrong. There's also every possibility that Dave plans on breaking up with me. We're not really dating, but we have a thing going on. If Dave breaks up with me, I'm literally done for. How will I cope with my boyfriend knowing he could find out any time? I know how smart Gregory is. It's only a matter of time before he tells me he's been aware of my cheating escapes. Speaking about Gregory, I've noticed a lot of changes in him. He's been suspicious of me, but he doesn't just know how to admit it without being wrong. I'm sure he's just waiting till he has enough evidence so I cannot deny it. Now Dave wants to break up with me? It's not possible, and I cannot allow it. I don't want to sound violent and weird, but I have risked a lot to be with Dave. He asked us to meet tomorrow, and I'm most definitely ready to meet him. I suspect that he'll try to break things off. Please advise me, guys. I don't know what to do. I don't know what I'll do if Dave decides to break things off with me. Update. Hi guys, it's me again. I almost got dumped, but I made an escape. What can I say? Life seems to be turning against me with every single turn. Am I afraid? Of course I am. I don't know if I should watch my back or count my blessings because the discoveries I've made in the past 2 weeks are just shocking. I know a cheater like me doesn't really have the right to talk about loyalty and betrayal, but damn, I think I'll have to talk about it. So, I met up with Dave just like I said I would. Immediately, I walked into the cafe he requested us to meet at. I could just tell that there was trouble brewing in the air. He looked stiff and angry, and his facial expressions were just proof of what I'd been afraid of. I'd never seen him like that, and it bothered me a lot. I knew that my suspicions were about to become reality, and it took all the self-control I had in me for me not to run away. I just didn't want to hear what he had to say because I could just guess that none of it was going to be in my favor. Well, I was actually very right for feeling that way. Dave told me he needed a break and wanted to focus on his job. I had to ask him if he was crazy. Focus on his job? What job? Didn't he know he had a job before he took me to his house that day? I was very angry, and I did not hesitate to show him just how angry I was. Dave didn't wait to listen to me. He just left the cafe immediately and switched off his phone. I looked like a mad person that day because of the way I tried running after him. It was a crazy scenario, and I'm very ashamed of myself. But what could I do? I was practically shivering just from the possibility of losing Dave. I'm the type of person that gets extremely scared when I know there's nothing to fall back on. I think that's what they call daddy issues. I hate the feeling of vulnerability and being helpless. I also have the possibility of being left with no one. I know I'm a hypocrite for feeling this way just after I cheated on my boyfriend and had a full-blown going behind his back. I think I deserve the karma that's slowly making its way toward me. But, just like everyone else, I'm currently trying to fight my way out of it because I'm scared. When I got back home that day, I decided to give Dave the time he needed. I was also contemplating telling Gregory the truth. I wanted to let him know that I was cheating on him, but I just couldn't find the courage to do it. If I was asked who I'd choose between Gregory and Dave, I honestly know that Gregory is my choice. Dave is charming and all, but he's a flirt and a playboy who is never serious. The only reason I'm trying to hold on to Dave is because I definitely know that Gregory is going to dump me once he finds out that I cheated on him. I know that there is no possibility that he is going to forgive me, and that is why I am trying to make sure my relationship with Dave still stands. I know that what I am doing is called selfish, but I cannot bring myself to accept the fact that the person I put my relationship at risk for is planning to dump me. That is why I am trying my best to save at least one relationship. But it feels like the walls are caving in, and I know that the end of both relationships is here. Like I said earlier, I do not live with Gregory. We live separately, but we always meet up almost every day. I do stay with him during the weekend sometimes. I was not supposed to stay with him during this weekend, but I decided to give it a try since I am aware that a lot is going on. During those 2 days I stayed with him, I realized that I'm also on the verge of losing Gregory too. Gregory has become cold and aloof, and he was even showing obvious disgust for my presence at his house. One thing I don't understand is why Gregory and Dave seem to be acting weird at the same time. I am very suspicious of this, and I have even come to the conclusion that both of them are communicating. I don't think this is far-fetched, and I know that there is every possibility that they both came together and decided to teach me a lesson. Gregory even decided to stop calling me like he usually did. Forget you usually. Gregory has stopped calling me at all. Even the normal text messages are now forced as I am the one trying to make conversation. My 2.5-year relationship is slipping off my fingers and there is nothing I can do about it. It will really hurt me if I realize that both of them planned this together and figured out that I was dating both of them, so they decided to have a bro thing. Dave is aware that I am in a relationship, and he has been aware since the very second day we started this thing. I told him I had a boyfriend and that we were kind of serious, and he told me that he was not going to judge me for that. I believed him. I actually stupidly believed him, but now I am in a position to doubt every single thing he told me. The only reason I kept saying Dave even after I realized that I was literally cheating on my boyfriend is because of his charming ways. I don't want to sound vain and partial, but Dave has a way of acting all charming, nice, and welcoming, and that is the reason I fell right into his trap. If I find out that Dave has anything to do with Gregory's sudden distance, I don't trust what I will do to him. I swear that there are many instances when I wanted to tell Gregory the truth, but Dave has assured me that there was no need. I know that the relationship is between me and Gregory, and not Dave and Gregory. I should have listened to myself and not taken his advice, but it is always easier for cheaters to take the easy route out, and that is a mistake I made, and that is why I am regretting it right now. I'm going to keep you all updated on what happens next, and I honestly hope that it is something positive. I know that the truth is eventually going to come out, and all I'm trying to do is just try to make it wait longer. I'll update you all in a week or two. Bye. Update 2. I got dumped, guys. I assure you that you made no mistakes. You read that right. I knew that it was just a matter of time and this was going to happen eventually, but I did not know that it was going to be this soon. I've always imagined what it would be like for the truth to get out and for me to receive the heartbreak text or speech from Gregory. But nothing in my imagination ever prepared me for what actually happened. Gregory dumped me in such a way that it left me shook for days. The fact that he had been planning his big comeback and revenge is just the most terrifying thing I've ever experienced. I know this might sound like an exaggeration, but I literally dined with my enemy. Gregory bought me a new dress and told me that he was going to take me out to dinner. Unknown to me that what Gregory actually wanted to do was break up with me. I can't even type this without taking a pause and taking a deep breath. Gregory practically embarrassed me in the worst way possible, and to think that I know that I deserve what happened to me is the most shameful, pitiful thing I've ever imagined. In this case, it was not imagination, it was actually reality, and I experienced it live and direct. Gregory sent me this beautiful dress, and I accepted it happily. It was a red dress, and it looked quite good on me. I even got my makeup done, because I was very happy that things were going to be better between me and Gregory. When I got to the restaurant, I realized that there were guests I didn't know were coming. Gregory invited his parents and siblings. I am not even joking when I say this. It was like I was at a family event. The only difference was that it was their family against just me. I came unprepared because Gregory didn't tell me that his family was going to be at the dinner. I was shocked to see them there, and I was practically defenseless. I thought it was going to be a normal dinner between couples, but I did not know that his family was invited. I'm sure you all know that it's a normal thing to prepare ahead of time before meeting your partner's family. It's mostly common among ladies when we rehearse the things to say and answers to the questions that we assume we would be asked. It's our way of getting ready and not being caught off guard. In my case, I wasn't just caught off guard. I was disrespected, embarrassed, insulted, and gaslighted. I think this is fair because this is exactly what I've been doing to Gregory. But to be honest, I never saw it coming. Even though I suspected that Gregory knew I was cheating on him and there was every possibility that he was going to have his revenge, never in a million years did I imagine that his own version of revenge was going to be exposing me in front of his own family members. When I got to the restaurant and sat down with his family, I could already sense that I'd been the topic of discussion before I came. His parents looked at me like I was feces under their feet. I swear that it took all the control in me not to stand up and run away. It was almost like I was sitting before them without clothes. I tried asking Gregory what was going on, but Gregory pretended like you did not even know me. He just told his family how he discovered that I'd been cheating on him. The Gregory I saw that they looked like a beast. I could tell that I had hurt him a lot and he was very disappointed in me. I was also very disappointed in myself because I made choices that were very poor. The worst part was that I kept making those wrong choices continuously, even though I was aware that I was only ruining the beautiful thing I had. I'm certain that one of the reasons Gregory made sure his family was present before he broke up with me is because of his mother's fondness for me. His mother and I have always been close, and she's always been in support of our relationship. Even before Gregory exposed me in front of his family, I've always been disgusted with the choices I made, even though I couldn't muster up the courage to correct all the mistakes I've made. I chose to take the easy route because I was a coward who was afraid of facing the consequences of her actions. But the fact that a woman who always loved to see me and smiled when she saw me, looked at me with a huge amount of disgust and hatred, made me regret everything all over again. Gregory's mother, who was always fond of me, looks like she regretted all the moments of kindness she showed me. I was deeply disturbed, embarrassed, and disappointed. Gregory told me that our relationship was over and that he gave me 2 months to refund all the money, clothing, jewelry, and everything he's ever spent on me. Yes, you all read that right. I am not even joking at all. I left the restaurant thinking about where I would get the money to pay him back. Where would I even start from? How did he expect me to refund 2.5 years' worth of gifts? Even though I'm still very much upset with myself, I cannot deny the fact that I have also spent a lot of money on Gregory. I mean, there was a point in my life where I actually thought that I would get married to him. That just goes to show how much we invested in each other before I went on and messed everything up. This might not be really relevant in this journey, but I will still say this just for reference sake. I am not a lazy woman, and I work for my money. I have never been dependent on Gregory's money or gifts. I am even the one who rejected his offer for me to move into his house. I am independent, and I have been so almost all my life. I work as a baker, and I work my ass off to earn what I eat. I think it's a little too cruel and weird of him to ask me for 2.5 years' worth of gifts. I could also ask him for the same things because I have also spent money on him. The next day after you broke up with me, I decided to go over to his house so we could talk. I knew I had messed up, and I knew the relationship was broken beyond repair. I didn't go to his house to ask for a second chance. I wanted to ask for his forgiveness because even before we started dating, we were good friends. We started off as good friends, and I don't want us to end up as people who stop talking to each other. I knew that it was going to be hard for him to forgive me and forget about everything, but I just wanted to try my luck to see if he could forgive me. But when I got to his house, what I saw there really shocked me. My best friend was at his house and they were making out before I stepped inside. Can you imagine the level of betrayal I felt? She was someone who was very aware of the dynamic of the relationship I had with Gregory and Dave. She was my very close best friend, and I told her everything about the relationship. Even when I first cheated on Gregory and was very scared, she was the first person I spoke to. I felt very guilty, and I needed someone to talk to, so I spoke to her because I thought I could trust her. But at the end of the day, I realized that she was just a green snake in the green grass. She literally listened to me talk about my problems only for her to go behind my back and date my boyfriend. I realized that there was every possibility that she had been visiting Gregory, even while we were still together. It dawned on me that she must have been the one to have told Gregory the truth. I know that after what I did to Gregory, I do not deserve any form of loyalty from anyone. But it still hurts me to see my own best friend with my ex-boyfriend. What even hurt me the most is the fact that she listened to me when I told her how I felt. The fact that she encouraged me not to tell him the truth is even more alarming. I'm even the bigger fool for listening to her advice and not doing what was right. She had her own bigger intentions, and I was not smart enough to realize it at the time. When I walked towards them and made my presence known, I did not see any form of guilt in her eyes. She even had the look of victory. It's the kind of look that told me she had been planning everything for a long time. A part of me wanted to be angry and even physically hurt her, but I knew that it was just my karma that got me hard. If I didn't cheat, she would have never had the opportunity to even dream of entering that living room. But I made the mistake of being unfaithful, which meant that I opened doors for anyone to enter into the relationship. Gregory practically sent me out of the house immediately he sighted me. He didn't even wait to listen to the things I had to say to him. I came to make peace with him, but it was obvious that he was not even interested in listening to me. I honestly tried my best, but all efforts proved to be in vain. I had no choice than to go back home. I knew that there was no use trying to make peace with someone that despised me. But I am smart enough to know that I deserve everything Gregory did to me, except the part where he asked me to refund his money. I am not going to refund anything because I never asked him for gifts. Everything he gave to me, he gave out of his own free will, and I did not force him. Even the dress he bought me for dinner was his own decision. I've also spent substantial money on him, and I don't think I plan on getting it back. So even though that chapter is painfully closed, I made it clear to him that I do not plan on refunding any money to him. Now guys, you might think that my misery is over, but it literally started from there. I got a text from Dave yesterday stating that he wanted to see me urgently. Dave and I have not been in contact since that day when he told me he needed a break. I tried reaching out to him, but it appeared like he blocked my number. Now that I got that text from him, I know that it can only mean that our relationship might be coming to an end. We all know that when your partner asks for a break, 90% of those relationships never come back the same. I don't even really think I'm interested in a relationship with Dave. I'm just not ready to buy the idea that I will lose both relationships at once. It's a truth I am not yet ready to accept, and that is why I am ready to do my best to save my relationship with Dave. The thought of how much being with Dave cost me in my long relationship is making me scared of losing my relationship with Dave. I'll feel even worse if I end up losing the relationship I have with Dave. It will mean that I put everything at stake just so I could end up with absolutely nothing. That is why I am literally here praying and hoping that Dave will only bring good news when we meet. I just hope that my relationship with Dave ends up being among the 10% of relationships that survive breaks. All I can do is hope. I'll be making an update to this post as soon as I can. I have accepted to meet them in the next 2 days. Whatever happens, I'll be sure to let you all know. Till next time. Update 3. I got dumped again. Yes, you read that right. I got dumped for the second time. I can't believe I'm here again with the same unfortunate experience. When I told you that I was hoping and praying that my relationship with Dave was safe, I was not joking at all. But it seems like karma really decided to make sure it's finished its work. I don't even know where to begin this similar breakup journey from. Dave actually broke up with me. Even after all the hopes I had, I was crushed yet again. If this isn't my story and it didn't happen to me, I'd not believe this even if I read it somewhere else. How can I get dumped twice back to back? It happened in literally the same period of time. I didn't even have the time to gather my thoughts and heal from the breakup with Gregory. Dave decided he couldn't wait any longer, and so he broke up with me. I guess 2 times the charm, right? Wow. I cannot believe that this is me. Dave invited me to his house just so he could break up with me. That day I got dressed and even took extra time to bake a cake for him. His birthday was a week before, but I couldn't bake him a cake because we stopped communicating. I decided to use that opportunity and get him a cake. But trust me, nothing prepared me for the aftermath at all. I know some of you might say I am shameless for baking a cake for Dave just after I broke up with Gregory. Well, there's nothing I can say to that. I don't think it's right for me to keep dwelling on the past. Gregory literally moved on with my best friend. I knew that there was no chance of us getting back together. In my stupid mind, I could try to save the going I had with Dave. I thought it was the right thing to do. I didn't want to be left with another reason to regret my actions again. So I decided to take enough stuff to stay over at Dave's place for 3 days. I thought it would be a little way for us to spend time together after being away because of the break. Yes, Guy, I was that positive and hopeful that I'd get back with Dave. Unfortunately for me, that was not the case at all. I would have really appreciated it if Dave had just made his intentions known to me from the start. Instead, he decided to play dumb and go along with all the preparations I'd made. This even went as far as welcoming me in the sweetest way possible. He was so happy to receive the birthday cake, and he devoured it like it was a freaking buffet. Believe me when I say he devoured it, because he really devoured it. I was very happy to see how excited he was, because I believed that that was a sign that we were going to get back together. He made it seem like he was back to his normal charming self with the way he flirted and joked. I actually believed everything and did not know that it was all just a facade. The first day and slept over, I forgot all about the pending problems and just tried my best to have fun. We were talking and just spending time together like normal couples did, even though I knew we were not a normal couple. The fact that I forgot all about everything is just a testament to how well he played me and made me believe that everything was fine. Even as I'm writing this now, I don't understand why he had to fake it when all he wanted to do was break up with me at the end of the day. It does not make sense at all, and that just goes to show how unserious he is. I know that I am literally at fault for everything, but Dave and Gregory seemed to have been the perfect pair to make my life a living hell. It was practically hard for me to understand everything, but I was able to get to the root of it at the end of the day. Before I tell you all how I got the piece of the puzzle together, I'll let you know how Dave broke up with me. On the third day I spent in his house, Dave decided to have a serious conversation with me. He told me he was aware that I was no longer together with my boyfriend. Imagine the level of shock I felt when he told me that. It was hard for me to understand how Dave found out Gregory and I broke up. I did not have a public relationship with Gregory, so it's not like we posted our breakup online. Up until that moment, I didn't even know that Dave knew Gregory's name. I've never mentioned Gregory's name to Dave. I just told him that I had a boyfriend, and that was it. I never saw the need to tell him what my boyfriend's name was. But on that particular day, Gregory told me he knew I broke up with this, and he called his name. I was very surprised because I did not expect Dave to be acquainted with Gregory. I stood up and demanded answers from Dave immediately. I had to know what was going on because it felt like I was being played right before my eyes. Even though I've been dating two guys, I never intentionally tried to make it a game. I told Dave I had a boyfriend before we started having a fling, so there was no way it made sense that he'd go behind my back and try to plan me with my real boyfriend. The only person that had the right to make that more was Gregory because he was the only one I really kept in the dark. But the discovery I made that day was very different from what I imagined. Dave told me that things were over between us. He said he was no longer interested in the relationship and wanted us to break up. I was shocked to say the least. I was so angry that I had to ask him why he only told me this when it was already too late. I didn't understand why he made me spend 2 days at his place when all he wanted to do was break up with me. Dave was not remorseful at all, and he made it clear that he did not give a damn. I was practically furious, and the proof of how angry I'd been is currently on Dave's face because I scratched the hell out of his face. I had long nails fixed, and I made sure that I pierced it into his skin. I am not a violent person, but I had no self-control that day. The fact that Dave had the audacity to think he could play me and then try and be nonchalant about it took me off the edge. Dave did not try to be defenseless when I came at him. He also tried to push me and fight back. But trust me, a woman always has pepper spray in her bag. I ran to the room and grabbed the pepper spray I always kept in my purse. I sprayed his eyes till I was practically rolling on the floor. That gave me enough time to pack my belongings and vacate his house. I didn't have much to park because I only brought in a duffel bag. I spent hours shaking on my couch when I got back to my house that day. The realization of what had happened had me shaking. I was so scared, betrayed, and angry at the same time that I didn't even know what to do with myself. It took a lot of self-control and anger management for me not to practically ruin my living room. I was embarrassed and disappointed in myself, but I was also very shaken with the fact that I got dumped twice barely in a week's time. I know that I had it coming and the shooting always had its repercussions, but I never expected my boyfriend and my affair partner to have come together to teach me a lesson. This is just my conclusion of what happened because I still don't have the full story. Dave refused to tell me what he knew, and Gregory is ignoring me. Even though I'm not aware of the full truth, I know that Gregory and Dave definitely came together to plan what to do to me. I got dumped twice, and it's still something that shocks me. Apart from the fact that I was dumped by my affair partner and boyfriend, I'm still trying to get over the fact that my best friend went ahead to sleep with my ex-boyfriend. If this is really the karma I deserve for cheating, I'm very certain that I got it hard. But I still accept that none of this embarrassment and disrespect would have happened if I never cheated. Even though everything that has happened to me is messed up, I can't deny that I have a hand in it. Nobody cares and life goes on. Only me is left with my repercussions. Lesson learnt the hard way. Hi everyone. I never imagined that I'll experience something so despicable and wicked. My wife tried to force me into signing the birth certificate of a child I later discovered was not mine. This woman watched me buy baby clothes and decorate the baby's room knowing fully well that the child was not mine. For the first time in my life, I regret my mother's decision to raise me and my brothers as gentlemen. If I was the strict husband with no respect for women, my wife would have never had the audacity to do this to me. How despicable and disgusting can some people really be? To force another person into accepting a child that is not theirs is just another level of wickedness. I took care of her all through her 9 months of pregnancy, unknown to me that I'd been taking care of another man's child. I still can't help but continuously imagine what would have happened if I actually signed that birth certificate. She was trying to trick me into taking responsibility for a child that is not mine. How evil is that? Paying legal fees and child support for another man's child? I am most grateful to the people that stood by me and ensured the truth was out. I was very close to making the biggest mistake of my life. I hope that karma catches up with her, her affair partner, and every single person that was involved in this disgusting fraud. There is no amount of explanation that can justify what my wife tried to do. My name is Sebastian, and I am a 30-year-old man from Argentina. I have been married to Amelia for 3 years now. Amelia is 27 years old. I am an architect, and I have been an architect for years. Before getting married to Amelia, I was practically married to my work. But after my marriage to her, I decided to spend more time with her. I've tried my best to be the best husband I can be. There's nothing I haven't tried to do in order to make sure my wife is comfortable and happy. It hurts me a lot to realize that all the efforts I have made have all been in vain. I used to feel guilty that my work took up most of my time, so I decided to make extra effort. My mother is a strict feminist, LOL. She's all about campaigning for women's rights and stressing the fact that women deserve care and respect. As a result of this, my mother has always instilled values that specify a woman's worth, and she has tried her best to make sure my brothers and I respect women. When I got married to Amelia, my mother spent hours lecturing me and warning me to reduce the time I spent at work since I now had a wife. I listened to her and decided to step up as a man. But I never imagined that even with all the efforts I made, Amelia would turn back to stab me in the back like a freaking traitor. This just goes to show that no matter what you do, you can never truly please a woman. Your efforts count as nothing at the end of the day. On the 4th of March 2022, Amelia showed me the pregnancy test and announced that she was pregnant. I felt a certain level of joy that I'd never really felt before. I've always been a man that loves children. I am the last child of my mother, so I never really had any little siblings who looked up to me. The realization that I was going to be a father and have a little child that called me Papa made me very happy. It felt like all the years of longing was finally going to yield something good. I don't think words can really describe how elated I'd been that day. In order to be perfectly sure, I took Amelia to the hospital so we could have a proper pregnancy test. Oh, I'd been so excited that I shook hands with all the doctors in sight and promised to buy them all dinner. I was not ashamed to show how happy that news made me. I grew up with a single mother who was scorned from her marriage with my late father. My mother told us stories of how our father abused her and made her life a living hell. She raised us to be the exact opposite of our father. After the doctors took a pregnancy test and we left the hospital, the results were ready 2 days later. The results confirmed that she was really pregnant. The doctor said the pregnancy was a high-risk pregnancy because Amelia was asthmatic. That meant that we had to be extra careful and I had to take very good care of her. I did not have a problem with that. Even when the doctor said high-risk pregnancies were quite expensive, I did not think twice before footing the bills. When I talk about bills, there were a lot of bills. But for me, it was not a big deal because I was doing something for my unborn child. Amelia's health was also at risk, so her diet and everything was monitored. I had to hire a personal chef who was also a nurse so they could take extra care of her. All these things were not a big deal for me at the time. But now that I know I was tricked into spending a fortune on a pregnancy that was not mine, I hate Amelia with every fiber in me. Damn. I hope my mother can see what her gentle home training led to. I swear that if I was to get married to any woman again, I'll never be as nice and trustful as I was. I don't think I can ever trust any woman after what Amelia did to me. It's just not possible. 2 months into Amelia's pregnancy, I got a call while I was at work. I was asked to come to the hospital urgently because of Amelia. I had to drop everything I was doing and I practically rushed to the hospital. Immediately I got to the hospital, my mother was there to scold me. She looked scared and tired. How could you leave your pregnant wife alone and let her work? She had an asthma attack and almost lost the baby. Her life was also at risk. Those were the exact words my mother said to me. The fact that I almost lost both my wife and my baby terrified me. But I had to ask Amelia why she went to work. I told her to stop working immediately she got pregnant, and she did. She did not go to work for 2 months. So, it was surprising for me to hear that she'd been to work. I was very angry because I knew that she indirectly put herself and the baby at risk. Emilia literally started crying after I scolded her. She said she felt guilty for just staying home and not working at all. Emilia days she did everything she did because she didn't want to become a liability to me. I was literally ambushed in front of my mother and brothers who were present. She made it sound like I was making her feel bad for staying at home. I was the one who even suggested she stopped working, but she said something completely different. I asked Emilia why she was overreacting and saying things that were not true, but it felt like I was wasting my time. She was crying, so anything I said obviously did not matter. My family pulled me to the side and asked me why I was making her work. I told them I didn't, and that she was possibly overreacting because of the pregnancy hormones. I told my family to go back home and that I'd take care of everything myself. I waited till they left the hospital before I had a conversation with Emilia. I asked her why she did what she did in front of my family and lied. She started sobbing again and said she couldn't control her emotions. For a man like me who was not really used to seeing me crying, I gave her the benefit of doubt and believed that she was just tired because of the pregnancy hormones. I also felt like she was just trying to project what she was truly feeling. Emilia said she felt guilty for buying things when she was not earning anymore. I interpreted what she said as her being broke. So I decided to make a decision and try something. I didn't want her to keep feeling that way and keep putting the baby's life at risk. The doctor also said that Emilia had not taken her asthmatic drugs for a week. That was part of the reason why she had an asthmatic attack. I asked Emilia why she stopped taking her drugs, and she said they fell into the toilet by mistake. You guys won't believe that I just found out everything she said was a lie. Apparently, she was lying about the drugs falling into the toilet just so I could buy more drugs. I always gave her the money to get the drugs herself. But I have discovered from the pharmacy that she has not been coming to get those drugs. All the money I've been giving her was for something else. She has been lying continuously that her drugs kept falling in the toilet. Everyone assumes that pregnant women get clumsy and forget things easily, so it's never a problem when they misplace things. That's the same thing I thought that day at the hospital when she told me that she had misplaced her drugs. I gave her money to get another one like I usually did. Emilia made me feel very guilty that day because I felt like I made her feel like a burden. I decided to speak to one of my brother's wives. I wanted to ask her for advice and to ask her own perspective since she had already been pregnant before. She told me that it was normal for women to feel that way. She said that sometimes women who do not work during pregnancy feel bad because they know that they are not earning enough money to take care of themselves. She admitted that Emilia's case might be worse because her pregnancy was high risk, and she knew that a lot of money was being spent. I took her words seriously and decided to try my best to make Emilia feel better. After speaking to my mother, she told me it would be nice if I started giving Emilia some amount of money for upkeep monthly. She said that would ease the guilt she felt. I didn't have a problem with that. I started giving her some monthly upkeep. The reason I obliged and gave her money monthly was because I didn't want her to work and have asthmatic attacks. That became the trend every month. Emilia stopped working and I hired a personal nurse that helped her. When Emilia was 4 months pregnant, I noticed some very odd habits. She started going out and coming back very late. I found that very weird because she was not usually like that during the first few months of her pregnancy. I didn't even know about this since I was busy with work. It was the personal nurse I hired that kept me updated on everything that had been happening. I was shocked to say the least. I was also very disappointed in Emilia because I never expected her to take the pregnancy for granted like that. I confronted her because it was important for me to know why she was taking the pregnancy for granted and putting herself and the baby at risk. She made up excuses and said that she wanted to exercise and go out because it was not easy for her to just stay in one place continuously. I didn't buy what she said. I made sure she stopped going out unnecessarily because I knew it could trigger her asthmatic attacks. The doctor even said it was not okay for her to go to playgrounds or recreational centers. They strictly told me that she must have a stay-at-home pregnancy. In order to make sure Emilia was not lonely and bored, I asked my brother's wives to visit her regularly. They had no problem with that, and they even offered to have cooking classes with her. None of their efforts stopped Emilia from sneaking out at night. I didn't understand why she was suddenly acting that way. It did not make sense to me. One day I came back from work early and decided to speak to Amelia. I wanted her to stop her immature habit of leaving my brother's wives alone at home and sneaking out. It was becoming a rampant issue and I needed to stop it. Trust me, guys, it was not easy for me at all. Amelia was very good at playing the victim game. She tried her best to turn things around and make it look like I was the one trying to put the baby's life at risk. I don't know how to say this without sounding bad, but the pregnancy really frustrated me. It made me constantly angry for a very long period of time. Amelia practically made my life difficult. The fact that all those stress and unnecessary attitudes I had for another man's baby enrages me. I went through hell, but I endured it all and gave her the benefit of doubt. Is it the many medical bills, monthly money for upkeep, expenditure on designing a room for the baby, buying baby clothes and equipment, and buying medication every month? I spent a lot of money, and I didn't think of regretting it back then. I didn't even have a single problem with it. I can't believe that woman made me go through all those things just because she wanted to kill money out of me. Amelia is the perfect definition of a shameless woman. She's a gold digger who used me for her vicious needs. 9 months. I took care of her for that long, and she had the audacity to try to trap me with a pregnancy that was not mine. There was nothing anyone would tell me. The revenge plan I have is worth it. My mothers and my brothers advised me not to be too angry with her. They made me understand that after the pregnancy, everything would be back to normal and I would have my wife back again. I decided to listen to all of them since they had been in my position before. I decided to be patient with her and tolerate her vicious activities. I even stopped complaining about her suspicious movements and decided it was best to leave her alone. As long as she did not put her life and the baby's life at risk, I was perfectly fine with whatever she was up to. Amelia did not stop saying she needed money. I had to give her money for one thing or another. At first, I decided to just go with it and keep giving her money. But I stopped when I noticed that her desire for more money never stopped. I started asking myself what she was using all the money I was giving her for. Amelia did not feed herself, and I paid for everything she needed. So I didn't understand how and why she was spending recklessly. I did not see her but anything at the house, so I began to wonder where all my money was really going. It was like an inner battle for a long time. I had to bring myself to accept that I would not be being inconsiderate and condescending if I asked her why she was spending recklessly. This is the part where I really think my mother is at fault. She made us think twice about everything, especially when it involved women. I don't think she realizes that not all women are worth the extra care and attention she taught us to have. Some women deserve absolutely nothing when it comes to life and care. Amelia is one of those women that do not deserve any form of love from a man. One needs to earn the respect they are so desperate to have. If you want respect from a man, you should be able to give him respect too. That's the only right thing to do. One day when I came back from work, I made the decision. We were eating dinner when I asked Amelia why she was spending recklessly. Amelia, why are you spending recklessly? You keep asking for money. What are you using that money for? Amelia looked shocked to hear me question her expenditure, and so she decided to play the pity game again. Why is it always a big deal for you to give me money? I stopped working because I am pregnant. How do you expect me to earn enough money for myself? That was what Amelia said to me. Prior to that day, I'd felt bad after she said those words. But on that particular day, I had enough of her constant tantrums. I was not ready to listen to her, and I made it clear that I would not be giving her more money. Amelia was very angry to hear me say that, but I didn't care. I'd made my final decision, and that was it. After that day, I began to keep a close eye on Amelia and all the activities she was involved in. I wanted to make sure that I was not making a big mistake by letting her get away with the things she was doing. You guys won't believe what happened weeks after that day. I am still even shocked as I write this. I can't believe that there were signs that she was cheating on me, but I was too stupid to notice them. Everything was literally right in front of me, but I decided not to take the hints. But how could I have imagined that Amelia was cheating on me? I mean, she was pregnant and we were married. Of course, I believed I was the father of the child. When I saw another man at my doorstep, I didn't imagine that he was the true father of the child. It was a Sunday morning and we just got back from the grocery store. Amelia went upstairs to take a shower and I'm in the living room watching TV. Someone knocked on the door and I stood up to go check. I was not expecting anyone, but I still wanted to know who it was. Guys, I ended up seeing a guy who looked like he was in his early 30s at the door. He greeted me coldly, and I was shocked. I did not think it made sense that a guy who was at my own doorstep thought it was right to give me the cold shoulder. He did not look like someone I knew at all, and I did not recognize his voice. I asked him what he was looking for, and he said he was looking for Amelia. I was surprised to hear him say that. At first, I was very skeptical because I wasn't sure of his identity. I told him to come back later. I wanted to speak to Amelia and ask if she knew him first, so I asked him to tell me his name. He said his name was Nathaniel. I asked what his relationship with Amelia was, and he said he was her distant cousin. I didn't recognize him as someone from our wedding, so I asked him to come back later. He agreed and left immediately. I waited till Amelia was out of the shower before I told her about her so-called distant cousin. You guys won't believe what Amelia did next. She quickly put on her clothes and rushed outside the house. I'm certain that she would have run if she was not pregnant. I was suspicious of the fact that she ran after Nathaniel. I decided to follow her because I needed to know where she was going. It was not safe for her to run about like that, especially with a high-risk pregnancy. By the time I got outside of the house, Amelia was already coming back. I asked her why she rushed out, and she said she just wanted to tell him goodbye. I tried asking more questions, but she touched her stomach and said the baby started kicking. Lol, the baby started kicking my foot. I didn't say anything after that day. I decided to let sleeping dogs lie and wait till she delivered the baby. The fact that the pregnancy was high risk made me very nervous. I didn't want to risk my baby's life for anything. I was ready to iron out our issues after the pregnancy. Unknown to me that the pregnancy wasn't even mine in the first place. When she was 7 months pregnant, I started suspecting the possibility that Amelia was cheating on me. I used to suspect that she was up to something, but I didn't really suspect anything till she was 7 months pregnant. I started listening to her late-night calls and muffled voices. All those signs only came after she stopped going out like she usually did. Maybe she stopped because she was already showing very well. I don't really know what made her make that decision in the first place. I noticed all the signs and I decided to take action. I was tired of guessing things and making up excuses for her when all she kept doing was take my efforts for granted. I noticed that Amelia started hiding to make calls. She stopped paying attention when I spoke to her, and she grew paranoid constantly. I did not listen to my family when they said it was just signs that her delivery date was getting closer. I refused to accept that those were her reasons, and I decided to take matters into my own hands. Since she no longer left the house, there was no need to hire a PI. I was busy with work, so it was practically impossible for me to keep an eye on her myself. Even when I tried staying home and keeping an eye on her, she would notice what I was up to and go back to her usual self. Trust me when I say that it was a very draining period for me. But I didn't give up. I was determined to get to the bottom of everything. I decided to start from the pharmacy. She constantly told me she needed money for drugs. I stopped giving her money, but I could not stop giving her money for her medication. I knew that was important because I didn't want to put her and the baby at risk. Amelia knew this too, and that was why she decided to use that as her game plan. I got tired of buying medication almost every week. I knew nothing about asthmatic medications and maternity medications, but even I noticed that the constant purchase of those medications were suspicious. I asked her what pharmacy she usually got her drugs from, and she told me she got them from the pharmacy at the hospital. Amelia asked me why I was asking her that question, and I told her that I just wanted to get myself some painkillers because I was tired from work. Why don't I get the painkillers for you? You're always busy with work, so I know that it would be quite stressful for you to go back and forth between your work and the hospital. Just leave everything to me, Amelia said to me. Guys, I knew what she was trying to do, so I respectfully declined her offer. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine on my own. It's not a hassle for me. I'll just go after work. That's how I was able to leave the house without raising any suspicions. Of course, I didn't really go to the pharmacy after work. I decided to go to the pharmacy even before I left for work. This is because I didn't want to give her any chance to do something stupid or cover up her tracks. When I got to the pharmacy, I asked them if Amelia had been coming to get medication regularly. At first, the pharmacy wasn't really ready to give me the information I needed even after I told them that Amelia was my wife. But one of my friends worked there, so he assured them that I was her husband. I gave them the prescription Amelia claimed she usually purchased from the hospital, but they denied having any asthmatic pregnant woman come every week. Yes, they truly said that to me. I couldn't even believe my ears when they told me that. It was at that moment that everything finally began to make sense. I realized that Amelia lied to me all that time. All the time she told me she was going to get medication and that her drugs fell into the toilet or got misplaced. She was just making an excuse so she could take money from me. That day, I accepted the fact that I was at least one step ahead of her. I knew she was indirectly stealing from me, so what was left was for me to find out the truth and why she was stealing from me. When I got home that day, I pretended like everything was fine. I didn't tell her about my discovery at the pharmacy because I didn't want to raise any alarms at all. It was just part of my plan to find out what she had been using all my money for. Amelia seemed to have been worried about my visit to the pharmacy because she didn't waste any time before she asked me what I'd been up to. "You can come back from work late. Did you end up spending time at the pharmacy?" That's what Amelia asked me. Guys, that was literally the second clue I needed to know that Amelia had to be cheating on me. The question was just too suspicious, and I knew that meant she was trying to hide something if she was that worried about my visit to the pharmacy. "Everything is fine. There was traffic on the road, so I had to deal with that." That's all I said to her before going to take a shower. Amelia seemed worried, but she didn't want to make it too obvious, so she stopped trying to disturb me. I knew why she was being nervous, but I pretended like I was not suspicious of her. There was not much I could do during that time because she was not really going out like she usually did. I had no choice but to patiently wait till she gave birth to our child. I knew that would be the perfect time to keep a close eye on her. 2 weeks to Amelia's delivery date, I started seeing more proof that my suspicions were actually very right. I got to know that I was not being paranoid about keeping an eye on her at all. She was very demanding and rude months before her delivery date. But when it was 2 weeks to her delivery date, Amelia became very calm and caring. It was like she was trying her best to get on my good side for reasons best known to her. I kept my cool and acted like there was nothing out of the ordinary happening. I was already suspicious of her, but the most important thing to me was my child, and that was the only thing I wanted to be focused on. I still had my suspicions about her, and I was getting ready to hire a private investigator the moment she gave birth to our child. I needed to make sure that I found out the truth. I didn't care if the truth meant she had been cheating on me. All I honestly wanted to do was know exactly what had been happening. 1 week before her delivery, I hired a private investigator and paid him half of the money. I had to take her to the hospital 3 days before the delivery because the doctors insisted that they keep an extra eye on her. They suggested that she had to be under critical care because her pregnancy was high risk and there was every possibility that something could go wrong. I did not have a problem with that because I wanted to make sure that my child was safe. I took her to the hospital like the doctors instructed and made sure she had the best medical treatment. There were lots of issues and I had to pay a lot of money because the baby's position in the stomach changed. That was not an ideal situation at the moment in time. One of the reasons why I'm still very angry even at this moment is because of the amount of stress I went through. I can swear that I made sure that I took perfect care of her because I cared for her and our unborn child. That is why it still breaks my heart that she watched me going through all that knowing fully well that she was with another man's child. Even with all the complications that were going on at the last minute, I did not give up, and I made sure that she gave birth to the child safely. Giving up was not even an option for me at all, and I am grateful that my family stood by me through it all. I took a 1-week leave from work, but because of the nature of my work, I'm still going to have money deducted from my salary. That did not matter to me back then, but now it does. The fact that I have wasted all this just to have my heart broken is crazy. All the respect I had for Amelia is gone. She has to be the most vicious and conniving woman I've ever met in my life. She has made me lose respect for all women. I know it is wrong to judge the whole gender based on another person's wrongdoing, but it will definitely take me some time before I trust any woman again. I'm even very angry with my mother now because she's the one that always taught us to think the best about women. When I brought all the complaints to her, she told me I was being inconsiderate because I was not the one carrying the baby in my stomach. She told me that the hormones were the reason why my wife was acting out, but now it turns out that she was acting out because she was cheating on me. On the day of the delivery, it took hours before the child was born. The doctor said there were complications, but thankfully they were able to take care of everything. I was very relieved the moment I was told that my child had been born. It was a very big deal for me when I saw the baby, because I felt like everything we had been through was worth the stress. Even my brothers and my mother were very happy because everyone knew just how much trauma the pregnancy brought us. I forgot all about the issues I had with Amelia and decided to sink in the moment. We spent 1 week in the hospital because Amelia had to heal, take her medications, and make sure that there were no problems that posed a health risk. Immediately we left the hospital, we had to start thinking of a name for the baby. I just realized that I forgot to tell you people what gender the baby is. Amelia to a baby boy. I honestly can't express the amount of joy I felt, but now I feel nothing because I know that I was betrayed. Since we have spent 1 week at the hospital, we had just 5 weeks to register the baby's birth. The law only gave us 6 weeks to register the baby's birth, so we had a lot of work to do. My friend already brought the birth certificate form over, and all we needed to do was sign. Amelia kept disturbing me and asking me to sign it fast. I wanted us to take our time since we hadn't named the child, but she was restless. She would bring the form and ask me to sign even before we gave the child a name. She said we could add any make and change it later. There were times when she would even start crying because I refused to sign it. We already spent 1 week and there was no time. I decided to name the baby Rodriguez. I spoke to Amelia about it and asked what she thought. She refused and said that she did not want that name for the baby. I asked her if she already had a name in my mind and she asked me to give her some time. The next day she left the house after saying that she wanted to get some groceries. I did not want her to go because I insisted that she still needed to rest, but she left anyway. I got suspicious and called my private investigator and asked him to follow her. He followed her for 2 more days after that because she kept going out. One day my private investigator called me and asked me to meet him at a cafe. I was surprised because we usually only talked on the phone, but he insisted that what you had to say was very important and needed to be said in person. I got the biggest shock of my life when my private investigator told me he found out that the baby was not my child. He told me that after following Amelia, I realized that she was having an affair with someone else. He showed me videos of her going into a man's house, and there were even pictures of her kissing him. I was even more shocked to see her so-called cousin was the one that she was having an affair with. There were even videos of both of them making out in front of his apartment. I had all the proof I needed to know she was cheating, but I did not understand why he claimed that the child was not mine. You know that situation when the truth is right in front of you, but you are scared to believe it because you know just how much the truth might hurt you. I was in that same situation that day because I was scared of believing what my private investigator told me. I even accused my private investigator of not being efficient. I told him that maybe she was cheating after she got pregnant with the baby. But my private investigator told me that he looked into the man and the neighborhood he was living in and found out from some of his sources that Amelia was a regular in the neighborhood.
Hey, man.
Apparently, Amelia used to spend the night with him anytime I went on business trips. I decided to conduct a DNA test secretly to find out the truth. One day, when I noticed that Amelia was out of the house, I invited our family doctor so you could take the DNA sample from the baby. After 4 days, the doctor told me that the DNA confirmed that the baby was not mine. I practically lost my senses. It felt like I was running mad. I had to go to my family and tell them everything I discovered. It was hard for them to believe it, but the DNA test was right in front of them. My brother advised me not to say anything yet and that I should hatch up a plan. When I got home that same day, Amelia told me she decided to name the baby Antonio and that all we needed was my signature. I refused to sign the birth certificate and told her I was aware of all her lies. I told her I knew that the baby was not mine. Amelia was shocked and she tried to deny it, but I showed her the DNA test. You guys won't believe how she suddenly got scared and threatened to kill herself if I didn't sign the papers. I'd seen things like that only in movies, but I saw it in real life that day. Amelia decided to act like a mad woman. She went as far as grabbing a knife from the kitchen and placing it in her veins. I didn't care if she died and I told her that. I refused to sign the papers and left the house. When I came back hours later, I came with my brothers who helped me pack Amelia's things outside the house. She was nowhere to be found when I came back and the baby was missing. Her sister came to the house to take her things from the garden the next day. I have not seen or heard of her since then. I'm still traumatized and hurt that the baby is not mine, but I'm glad I found out the truth in time before she forced me to sign the birth certificate. I plan on filing for divorce soon, but I need a good lawyer first. I don't want to pay her a dime in divorce settlement. So guys, that's how I got the worst experience of my life from my own wife. I plan on getting revenge, but I need time to understand everything that happened. Our journey ends here. Goodbye, and thank you all for reading this life-changing experience of mine.